Hey, welcome everybody. John Alexander with you. And we're going to be getting started in just a second here. Welcome everybody. John Alexander. A couple of things straightened up here. One of them being these disclosures, of course. And a couple of things straightened up here. Then let's go ahead and jump right into chat. Now, a couple of things on today's call. First of all, I'm glad we finally was able to get everything kind of put together in the members area. I'm just kind of making sure everything is going fine, so just bear with me. This is the first time we've done that, so that all looks good. As a reminder, if you want to ask questions, you can. Number one, you can still ask questions over at Twitch, at the Twitch channel, or you can click at the very bottom of this video. If you put your cursor over the video, you'll see the YouTube logo show up at the very bottom of the screen, and if you just tap on that, it will reopen in YouTube, and you can watch us over there at YouTube. So it's a closed channel, so nobody else is actually seeing this, just you, because you have access through here. But you can ask your questions in the chat room at YouTube. So that's the best way to get your questions to me. Today I was going to check one more time for the any other questions, but I didn't see any come in. So today, any questions that we're going to be doing or holding or answering will be through the chat. All right, so I'm seeing so many screens here. This is confusing, so I'm going to close that one down and get back situated with where we want to go today. So I'm kind of excited about today because of what we're going to be covering. And I'm going to grab... Let's see. First of all, let me see. Do we have any housekeeping that we have to do before we start? All right. So some of you guys have already done some deals. Congratulations. I'm proud of you to get off to such a fast start. Some of you are in the middle of a deal. And, you know, one of the best places to be is in the middle of a deal. Because today we are talking about finding deals and finding low-hanging fruit deals and then how to handle them. But, you know, once you get one, then you've got to sell it. You know, so you list it. You basically you get it under contract, and then you sell it. And some of the best motivations to make you figure out how to get it sold quickly is to get one under contract and then go forward with it. I have done the worst case. I think the worst case deal I ever did was I got a deal under contract. I thought it was a little too high because the seller held out on me, but I went ahead and put it under contract with an option. So basically saying, okay, well, you know, give me 6 months. Of course, I sold it like in 2 months. It still went very fast. It's just that I don't like, you know, I just wanted some more time in case I needed it. So sometimes, and that was a renegotiation. So when I had negotiated the deal, I tried to market the way we normally market, and I just couldn't get it sold. So I went back and renegotiated the deal with the seller. So pay attention to that very strongly, because this can come back and help you if for any reason you're in a deal and it goes south on you in the middle of a deal. Remember, that seller is still motivated to sell to you. They've invested with you, and it's just like basically when a realtor goes back to the owner that listed a property with him, and now he breaks the bad news. Well, it's worse than what we thought, and you know, if you really want to sell it, you're going to have to bring your price down. Well, we're not even asking to bring the price down necessarily. We're just asking for more time. That's far better. And they say yes to that realtor all the time on bringing the price down. So what do you think they'll do to you when you ask for an extension of time? All right, so keep that in mind. That gives you some more possibilities. Okay. On today's call, we're going to be looking at low-hanging fruit. Now, in every county, and I stumbled into this by accident myself, all right? So I started the hard way, using the mapping system, pretty much the way you've been taught so far, all right? Then over time, I learned these little shortcuts, you know, to that I hit my head and say, man, I wish I had known that before. But I don't want to. I can't take away the fact of what you need to do on the basics, which is what you've got so far. All right. So I don't want to introduce something that will spoil you, and then you don't understand what you should do, can do, and will do. Even with this, what I'm about to give you, because you still need. You can take this and then you pop it. Just this is an add-on. Okay, it shouldn't replace it. It's an add-on. So when you're maybe using this easy to locate system that I have for the ideal properties in any county, you want to be able to still use the other, because all the basics are still the same. They don't change. And you can also go from this neighborhood to the next neighborhood and do the same thing. Or you'll find that maybe there's, well, you kind of have to jump in and see what I'm talking about, because when you pull out a property, maybe there's only one property that we find using this method. Well, it doesn't mean that wasn't, that's not a great neighborhood to work. I mean, if what I'm going to show you today, there's even one property in that neighborhood, it opens up the possibility of you hitting that neighborhood and then attacking that neighborhood using our basic system, the mailing out to those, not only out of state and out of area owners, but sometimes even, as long as they're not living next door, I'll mail to them in these kind of neighborhoods that I'm about to show you. Okay. So this really reduces your mailing down to minimum. It highly increases the number of yeses, and it also highly increases the yes to almost anything you offer. Now, I'm saying that within reason, all right? So you just kind of have to look at the deal and say, okay, well, where should I be on it, and figure out, where you need to be on it, and then go with that offer. But don't be afraid to offer some really, really low offers. You'd be surprised how many times I can buy a property that is even a $10,000 property I can buy for less than $200. $5,000 property, less than $200. So don't be afraid to go down and reach down those and hit those really bottom properties, because that's a lot of money. $5,000 profit on a deal is a lot of money. And so just because we're dealing at the bottom of the barrel today on this call and with this method, don't think there's not money there, because there is a lot of money there. And I've made a lot of money using it. So let's jump in. I'm going to do two things. I'm going to highlight I'm going to go ahead and turn on my screen here. I'm going to pop into the text messages area a link. So I'm going to give you guys a link. So grab this link. And good morning, everybody. I'm just popping open my chat and reading chat for the first time. So good morning, you guys. A lot of you guys are in here that are actively working it. So let's see. This link right here, I'm going to pop open now on my screen. So you got the link. So what this is going to do is it's going to open up into this type of file. And what this is I found this one time by accident. So much I've found by accident, but here's another accident. And look at this list. I mean, when I first started out flipping properties, this list was about, I'm going to say maybe no more than this right here that you see. And especially in the last year, man, they have got a good sales team, because it has been expanding like crazy. So they are knocking out these places. Now what this is, these are county clerks' offices, and this particular means they're using this county clerk system for filing deeds. So these are all your deed places. Now why is this important? Because it makes life so much easier for us if we can go in and find property that is listed deed-wise, that we can access the deed, pull up the deed, and look at the deed. Now, most of these, I'm not going to say all of them, but most of them are free. Almost all of them are free. There's a few in here that are not, and that's good too, because that means nobody else is working that county for that money. So no competition. Number two, this thing will, these particular ones will allow you sometimes to go in without even setting up a membership or registering. So it makes it very fast. I'm going to use Boone County, for example. So you have to, sometimes you go into their county thing, and then you have to look, right? So here it says search the database here. So we can go right here, and it should pop into their system. So that filing system is right here, and this is what it looks like for most of them. So they'll have a different heading, etc. But look for this login as guest. Now, if this is not here, you have to create an account. So there'll be some link to do that, and then you can log in after that going in. But most of them are smart enough to just have you log in as a guest. You accept this, and then you come on in here, and this is your search area. So I just want to go through this because this is so common now, and this is a great system. I've been using this system for years as well. So it makes doing searches for your title and your history and all that pretty easy. So you can kind of pick and choose from all those counties that we just looked at, and then come in here and do a search. So you're going to click right here on this search records button. I'm giving you shortcuts so you don't have to spend a bunch of time figuring this out, because there's so many now, and I think they're just going to continue, that it's worth going over. And now you're here. So you're in here where you can look for the different documents. And one of the things I love about this is you can drop down these things over here, and it then search just for whatever you might be wanting to go for. Like if you wanted to see the notice of defaults, people just going into foreclosure, if you're working your other deals, your house deals, you can just search for that, come over here and put the dates in from last month or 2 months ago to this month, and you pull up just those notices of default, and you have a list there that you can go work. But that's not really what we're looking for. But the other thing that you can search for that can also be quite lucrative are the liens. And if you have to get familiar with the liens and how they title them, and the names of the county or city entities, whatever they're using, that's putting a lien against the property, for example, and those will come up here. So that's another thing. None of this is what I'm talking about today. These are just some things I'm just throwing in that I've learned for a while that can come back in and help you do some deals. But this, primarily, all you're doing now here is putting in the name, and you're doing your search. If you can't find somebody's name, but you have the legal description, then you pop this legal description open instead, and you're going to type in the subdivision name here, and then be very sparse when you fill the rest of this out, because this database search is not simple. So the least amount of information you can put in here, the better. So what I do is I start by putting in the bare minimum, because there's not that many lots in a subdivision. So once I've named the subdivision up here, and in particular if there is, we have to drop down here and start looking for it. But once you open up a subdivision, you can do some sorts inside that subdivision in the main record, just by hitting the names of the field, just like in Excel, to sort through a list. You can take those headers and sort by lot number and block number. So that's how I find a lot of my lots. If I can't find them under a name, I just put, and usually I do it anyway, because I want to know if anything else has been filed against this lot, but without the name I'm dealing with. So I'll find, by doing this legal description search, you can find everything that's ever been done against that one lot throughout the history of however long this takes you back. So one of the things you can do is you can just kind of tiptoe in here, either use a lot or you can use a block. Now that's the two basic ways of really narrowing it down quickly. If you do have a lot of lots with the same numbers, because there's a lot of different blocks, so you might have 30 blocks in a subdivision, but you might only have 20 lots in each of the blocks. So you can't put number 5 in here because you'll get 25s, and that's really confusing to figure it out. So in that case, just go with the one block and then wait and sort once you get in here by lot. That'd be a lot easier. So just a couple of things to help speed you through doing these online searches for your property, your title issues, making sure who owns it, that type of thing. Okay, so I just wanted to give you this because I thought this was just a great source to be able to go through all those different states and have basically free access into a lot of these things for you. All right, so let's go ahead and move into our low-hanging fruit. How do we find those low-hanging fruits? And some of this will involve, some of what I'm going to give you here can involve this if you don't have a tax list for that particular county. The two things I really look for are the GIS map and this thing right here. I want to be able to see, I want to be able to access the deeds, and I want to be able to access the GIS. Almost every other county, every county has the tax roll, right? So we can figure out what the taxes are. So that's not the issue. The issue is, can we pull deeds, look at the history, and can we see the property on a GIS map with property lines, so we can see what we're looking at. So that's why I thought this might help you, because if you're in some of these states, and even if you aren't, go in and pick and choose. If you can't find anything in your state, you can come in here and pick and choose. But now, look, most states have, most counties have their own online deed of record. Certainly all big counties do. And but we don't generally work in those big counties, right? We work in the surrounding counties, the smaller counties. So some of them do, some of them don't. Okay. So as I said, what I'm about to show you, you can use this to now go look in, for example, what I just went over. Oh, subdivision. Once we locate that low-hanging fruit subdivision, put that name in here and do a search on it. All right. So now I think I gave you what I needed on the back end of it on how to find these things, even if you don't have a tax roll. All right. So that's one way of doing it. I really like the tax roll better, but there's other ways to get these addresses as well. So let's go ahead. I'm going to close this down for a second, and we will go back into chat mode because oh, let me pull up the chat, the actual chat. Okay, so the way that you're going to do this, and the way that I've done this for a long time, is you got to think about what your target is, and then it makes sense. The target is serious sellers who kind of want to get rid of their property. Maybe they just barely been keeping the taxes paid, and some of those people haven't even paid some taxes in a while, or they're getting behind in taxes because they've held it so long, or maybe got transferred to their kids or whatever. But all of this scenario sets up another scenario, because there are lower end subdivisions. Typically they're lower end subdivisions which now fall into our price range, right? That's really what we're looking for. So we're using a combination of this to get to the point. The point is this: a lot of these subdivisions that make this ideal, really low cost, where we can buy some of these lots sometimes for $200, $500, $1,000 tops, a lot of times. But not just that, but higher. But still, that's a good range that you'll find in a lot of these subdivisions, and that is by obtaining a list of your tax foreclosure, property tax foreclosures. Now, you guys know I'm not an advocate of going down and bidding on tax properties. That's not what we're talking about at all. What we're talking about is piggybacking on that problem. Because what you'll find is that in most of these counties, if you take a look at the tax properties that went up for sale last month, the month before, you'll start to see a pattern of certain subdivisions that have these foreclosures going on. And when you see that, giant bell should ring. That is a honeypot for what we're looking for. It's not those deals. It has nothing to do with going after those particular properties. We're not going to buy them. That's not what we're after. That's somebody else's deal. What we're looking at are the other people that own property that will someday be joining that crowd if we don't get in there and get that property and get it off their hands and fix their problem and fix our problem at the same time. Because we want good properties at dirt bottom prices. So that's the way to find some just lay down properties. These people oftentimes have had this property forever. It's not the best neighborhood anymore, so they're never going to live there, and they don't really care about it, except they're just paying taxes a lot of times just to kind of get by. And so you can go into these areas and put just the lowest ball offer. You wouldn't even think they would take it, but they will. But you have to put it out there. You have to say, hey, it's $200. And that's your good starting point. If they don't go with that, go to $500. And so that's how you can locate in almost any county. Grab the tax sale list. There's also some services that sell the list that have gone up for sale in the past, so you can grab that if you want to. Maybe get a trial for that and just grab. All you need to do is grab it one time and then get out of your trial. Probably didn't cost you a thing to do it that way, because you'll never need it again. Once you have that list of subdivisions that you constantly see popping up in a tax sale in a county, then that's going to continue. There's nothing that's going to stop that, and they're just and so that. And it's limited, so it's not like it starts over again some other time. These are typically very old subdivisions, so this is a one-time shot for every county that you want to kind of go into and do this with. So you can go in there, find them, and just attack those sellers or owners with your mailing. Well, that's it for me. I mean, that was so simple, and it's almost too simple. But it is a great way of finding these easy low hanging fruit type deals. And don't think you can't turn around and sell them for anywhere from $5,000, $10,000, $15,000, because that's exactly what you should be able to do. And you should be. And again, you can look on. Well, we've discussed ways of figuring out what the prices are, so I'm not going to recover that. But, you can figure out what the price is, and that's where you can flip them. And now, since you're in there so low, you don't even have to do that. One last thing I did want to share with you, and I've mentioned this before, that when you're offering somebody $200 or $500 for a property, most of the time, they don't require that you send them that money. And you wouldn't. And you don't even use our system of using the notary, although you can. I just, at those low prices, I try to get the deed from them first. And you can almost always get it. So they're literally mailing you the deed. And now you've got ownership and you haven't paid. So your contract that you send them says, okay, we're going to close in 90 days or 60 days, whatever you want to put in there. And then they ship you the deed. You can file the deed. You're owner now, and now you can sell that property. And you've got that amount of time to get them the money. What happens if they don't? What happens if you don't? Or you get the deed, you filed it. Worst case scenario, the seller calls you up and says, "You can't close. I want my property back. Give me back my deed." You say, "Well, okay, all I'm going to have to do, I've already filed it, so I'll file a release," and you do a quit claim deed filing. That releases you out, and they own it again, free and clear. So that's how you handle that. But that's not going to happen. What generally is going to happen is if you haven't sold it by that time, then you just call the seller back up, and don't wait till the last minute. Do this a week or two before and tell them you're having a tough time with this property. It's a real dog of a property, and you need some more time. And please give me another 60 days. But if not, I'll release the property and we can go apart. But probably the only way you're ever going to sell this is if I'm selling. I'm making some headway, but I'm not there yet. Use whatever excuses you want, but that's That's just cut and dry, a quick way of doing it. And try not to use too much BS, because sellers see through BS. They hear through BS pretty easily, and especially older people, or more experienced people, let me say. But again, remember how real estate agents do it. They constantly do this to sellers. They constantly call them up and have to lower the price. And we're not even doing that. We're just extending time. So we go back to that same idea. So we use these same concepts over and over in different forms and different fashions. All right, so let's go into any questions. I'll answer anything on this subject or off subject. Doesn't matter. Oh, I see we have Dennis. I see Dale in there. Gregory. Nate. Hey, Nate. How long in terms of days, months in your P&S agreement do you state that the closing will occur? Well, I generally put the closing off. I'm always at 45 days for sure. Always at 45 days for sure. And sometimes I'll push it to 60. If I think I've got a little bit of a more of a headache type property, I'll do 60. But those are generally the two terms that I'm putting in my purchase and sales agreement. And I have never in my life, no matter what I put in there, I've never had a single time when somebody came back and said, "Well, I need you to tighten that up. You know, I need a shorter closing period." They just don't do it. And it's nice that we're selling property they don't want most of the time, and is a headache. And so they don't get too demanding at all anywhere with it. Okay, any other questions today? If not, we're going to terminate the call today. Thanks everybody for coming in. Oh, we do have one more. Are you working with a real estate agent in your deals? You mentioned in the Facebook that you're working. Yes, I am. So once you guys are, to me, once you're able to put a deal together and learn these basics, because this is the basics before you start to move on to other things, which, you know, that's basically another level up. And I will be having a advanced type training available for those of you who are ready for it. So when you guys get, and you have to kind of be your own judge when you want to do that, just let me know. And then I'm sure that'll all be timed in probably pretty quickly with when I have that course ready to put out. Because some of you are getting there pretty fast. And so it makes it nice. Really makes it nice. And having an agent connected in with what you're doing makes life a lot easier too. But you've got to know all the basics. That agent they're really dependent on you to know what to do, what to say. You're telling the agent what to say, what to do. Because they don't train them on any of this stuff in real estate school. And so you will have to do it. All right. So this is what I'm saying. You need, before you jump into working with an agent, you should have a deal or even two under your belt. But then there's really no reason why you shouldn't. How's a book coming? Oh, glad you mentioned that. It slowed down when we went to the deal last week, but now it's back on track again. So I am so close now to having that put together, and I think. And here's the thing I'm going to do with it. I'm going to release it because a lot of it, covers what we've covered in here, plus more stuff. So what I'm doing is I'm taking additional stuff that I know should be key to it. I'm putting it all in there, and I think for the most part in that version or this version of the book, I'm just going to make it available to you all because this is information I just don't want out in the public. Now, I may do a stripped down version of this, which is probably what I'll do. I'll strip it all out of all the good stuff, the stuff that if you're going to pay whatever, let's say $10 for a book, you're not going to get the best stuff. That's not the way it works in real life. So I will then, after that, all right, so this will be a secondary. I'll make a stripped down version and put it out to the public, but you guys will have access to everything, essentially most everything we've covered in here in a book format. And all I'm going to do pretty much, I believe, is I'm just going to put it into the members area so that you guys can access it in here. So this will just be another great resource for you. And if I can, I don't know if I can or not, but I'm going to, my first initial copies, I'm going to make a run, a proof run. All right, so that's the book coming out, and then we'll make that available to you guys probably at whatever I'm probably just want to cover my cost on it, to cover my initial thing. So maybe whatever it is, $8 I think all in. So that I think will be a great resource for you. That way you have it and you can go right to the chapter and right to the information you want without going back through the videos or listening to some of the stuff either, or just trying to go back to whatever topic we're covering. Is that okay? My land deal under contract is in my name on the buy side contract, or should I rather have it in trust for the double close? Hey, on a land contract, any kind of contract, I always want my trust on there because it gives you the extra ability to just assign that trust off if you had to your final buyer as well. But it doesn't matter if your name is on it or not. Legally in that sense of what you can do with it. It's fine either way. But I always want it in a trust. Sent my first small mailing last week, about 15 letters. Just received my first seller call. Hey, good for you, Nathan. Just came in during your talk. I'm bringing the luck. All right, so go get them, Nathan, and don't be afraid to give them a really low ball offer. They're calling you off of that mailing. They're motivated. They're motivated to sell. Okay, that's it. Thanks everybody. I'm going to do these sometimes. These are not every week type of things, but when I come up with something I think would make a good addition, and also when I see some of what you're doing and I think I can add a little bit more in to help you in general, help everybody with those issues that may be being experienced only by those who are actually getting somewhere, because you do have to do something in here to get somewhere. But when you do, then you run into your first brick wall. Then some of you are reaching out and asking for help and stuff. So whatever I can do to help get you past that wall, I do want to help you get past that wall. So I'd rather see you make a deal than not do anything. So let's hit some walls out there, because that's the only way you make money. Okay, we'll see you back next time we do this.